Adana Adelik lived in a gilded cage, a sprawling mansion in a Koi where the scent of imported flowers mingled with the salty Lagos air. As the daughter of Chief Adelik, a man whose wealth was as vast as his influence, she had everything but freedom. Her days were a meticulously planned sequence of charity events, business galas, and fittings for clothes she didn't want to wear. From her window, she often watched the world outside the high, electrified gates. Her only connection to that world was Emeka, the gatekeeper. He was quiet, with kind eyes that seemed to see past the errors to the woman beneath. He always had a genuine smile for her, a stark contrast to the calculated grins of the men her father paraded before her. It was in those fleeting moments, the exchange of a simple greeting, that Adana felt a flicker of something real, a dangerous spark in her sterile life. The space between the mansion's front door and the main gate became their secret world. Adana started finding excuses to walk the grounds, her path always leading her to the gatehouse. Their conversations were brief, whispered exchanges about books, the weather, and the bright chaos of Lagos life that Emeka described so vividly. He would pass her a piece of street vended suyo through the bars, the spicy, smoky aroma a thrilling taste of the life she craved. Each glance that lingered a second too long, each hand that brushed against the other during their clandestine exchanges, was a gamble. They were playing with fire, and the heat between them was becoming too intense to ignore. For Adana, the risk was worth it. Emeka was the only person who made her feel seen, not just as a name on a business ledger, but as a woman with a heart of her own. Nothing escaped the notice of Chioma, Adana's older sister. Chioma was pragmatic and ambitious, her heart forged from the same steel as their father's. She noticed Adana's frequent, aimless walks and the uncharacteristic glow on her face afterward. One evening, from her second-floor balcony, she watched as Adana laughed with the gatekeeper, her head tilted back in a way Chioma hadn't seen in years. The intimacy of the moment, though separated by iron bars, was unmistakable. Suspicion coiled in Chioma's gut. She saw Adana's infatuation not as a romance, but as a liability, a foolish, emotional indulgence that could tarnish the family name and, more importantly, jeopardize the advantageous marriage their father was arranging for Adana, a union that would benefit them all. Chioma confronted Adana in her room, the scent of jasmine hanging heavy in the air. "What do you think you are doing with the gate boy?" she hissed, her voice low and sharp. Cornered, Adana's defenses crumbled, and she confessed everything, her loneliness, her feelings for Emeka, the simple joy he brought her. Tears streamed down her face as she pleaded for her sister's understanding. Chioma's expression softened, and she pulled Adana into an embrace, murmuring words of comfort. But as she held her weeping sister, her eyes were cold and calculating. Her phone, hidden in her hand, was recording every word. This confession wasn't a secret to be kept, it was ammunition. Chioma knew their father would see this as the ultimate betrayer, and she was ready to use it to secure her own position within the family hierarchy. The next day, Chioma played the recording for Chief Adelik. His face, usually a mask of calm authority, twisted into a storm of fury. The shame of his daughter consorting with a common servant was a blow to his immense pride. He didn't hesitate. Emeka was fired on the spot, thrown out of the compound with nothing but the clothes on his back, his bewildered question swallowed by the slamming gate. Adana was summoned to her father's study, where he unleashed a torrent of rage. He called her a disgrace, a fool who would trade a dynasty for a dalliance with a nobody. Her phone was confiscated, her car keys taken, and guards were instructed not to let her leave the grounds. The gilded cage had become a real prison. Cast out and disgraced, Emeka was not just a simple gatekeeper mourning a lost love. He was Emeka Okoro, the only son of the late Chief Okoro, once Chief Adelik's fiercest business rival. Years ago, Adelik had systematically and ruthlessly destroyed his rival, seizing his assets and leaving the Okoro family destitute. Emeka had spent the last year working at the Adelik estate, not for the meager salary, but for revenge. His mission was to get close to the family, to find the evidence that would prove his father was framed and ruined. Falling in love with Adana was never part of the plan. Her genuine kindness had breached his defenses, and now his quest for vengeance was hopelessly entangled with a love for the daughter of the man he was sworn to destroy. Driven by a desperation she had never known, Adana bribed a sympathetic maid and slipped out of the mansion in the dead of night. She found Emeka in a small, sparse apartment in Suralere, the air thick with the smell of rain and regret. The truth came tumbling out of him, his real identity, the story of his father's ruin, and his original mission for revenge. He confessed that his feelings for her were real, an unexpected complication that had tormented him for months. The betrayal stung Adana, another layer of deceit in her life. But looking at the man before her, she saw not a liar, but a victim, just like her. Her father had become her jailer, and her sister, her betrayer. In that moment, her love for Emeka fused with her own anger. She had no other allies. "You need evidence," she said, her voice steady. "I know where he keeps everything." They became a team forged in vengeance and passion. Adana's insider knowledge was the key Emeka had been missing. She guided him to a hidden safe in her father's private study, filled with documents, ledgers, and offshore account details that laid bare the corruption and illegal deals that built the Adelic empire. Together, they anonymously delivered the evidence to Nigeria's most tenacious investigative journalist. The story broke a week later, a media firestorm that consumed the nation. Adelic's empire of lies, the headlines screamed. The scandal was immediate and catastrophic. As his assets were frozen and his empire crumbled, Chief Adelik and Choma could only watch, their power evaporating into thin air. From a small, curtained room miles away, Adana and Emeka watched the news on a small television. Their future was a blank page, but as his hand found hers in the dim light, they knew they would write it together. Love knows no boundaries, but will society let them be? If you were in her shoes, would you fight for love or walk away? They say love is blind, but in her world, it was also forbidden. Would you risk it all for the one your heart beats for? Hit that like button if you believe love conquers all, subscribe for more emotional African tales, and share this video with someone who still believes in true love.